No, I think that's a very, very sensible approach to always have a moisturizer with you.
Yeah.
Because it's one of your hidden, today is a secret date with Tabu, and a moisturizer is actually your secret weapon to great skin. So it's not that if you don't use a moisturizer today, you may see the effects today, but definitely there are effects in your skin. You tend to develop, like the wall develops little cracks. Living in
Yeah.
Bombay, we all know how there's seepage in the walls. The seepage doesn't happen overnight. So you develop these little cracks which cannot be seen, which are eventually seen in the form of poor glow on the skin, an
Right.
inability of the skin to repair itself, so we start aging faster. And because we start aging faster, the glow gets diminished further. So to just borrow from another category, nobody would ever go out without brushing their teeth
Yeah.
because that's something that others can perceive as well. So you must never skip your moisturization routine because even if you use makeup, makeup looks much better on moisturized skin. So
Sure.
it's like trying to have a dry, uneven skin and then to cover it up with makeup. If you had smooth, moisturized skin, you would look much better. So it is not a step that you must ever skip in your routine.
We always talk about like a healthy, natural glow, right? And how that makeup artist was able to give me a healthy, natural glow. Why do that when you have this? At any point, if there's anything you also want to ask, please go ahead.
Actually, there are two questions. One is what is the truth about moisturizing at night? Good, recommended, not, and what happens when you sleep?
That's a great question, Tabu, actually. See, there are two reasons why it is much better in places like India and especially places like Bombay to moisturize at night. One is that during the daytime, when you're out in the sun all the time, you're sweating. So a lot of products that you may put on your skin may actually feel a little stickier,
Yes.
may feel a little bit more uncomfortable if you have to layer them on in the daytime. Secondly, what we do during the day is actually heaping insults on ourselves, right? In every single way, we're outside, we forget to hydrate ourselves, we don't drink enough water. If we are, in your case, shooting for a long period, or even other people who are traveling out to work and coming back, very often you forget to do the little things saying, I need to moisturize my skin, let's say, after 6 hours or 8 hours. So the skin is undergoing micro damage right through the day. When we come back home in the evening and we're actually unwinding and we're getting to bed, that's the time when we have a little more time to focus not only on the face, but essentially on the body, which is a very neglected part of most people's beauty routine.
Right.
Most of us in India never look neck below to see what we can do to our body. Everything is about the face. But at night, you do have the time and the mind space to actually pick up a moisturizer and focus on those areas, one, which tend to get drier, and two, which tend to become drier over time, even chronologically. There are certain parts of the body which age faster,
Yeah.
which tend to show the dryness faster. Thirdly, when we sleep at night, there are certain hormones which are secreted, which actually relax the skin and help it to replenish and repair itself. And that's the point at which, if we give it a little more help, the skin will, repair itself a little bit better. So it's like going to the gym and working out. If we support it with a good diet, then we lose weight faster. So similarly, the body itself is repairing itself at night. If at that time you also add on a moisturizer, you actually replenish those healing properties.
Thank you. Also, one more question. I found my suitable products, but I'm sure a few of us would like to know
Yeah.
how to go about selecting the best moisturizer for you, given that there's so many variants in the market, and
Right.
what are the factors?
Yes, it can get very confusing knowing how to pick a moisturizer. There are three things that we need to keep in mind. One is understanding of what kind of skin we have. Now, obviously, this is not a golden rule, but I've seen in India, most people, even when you've got an oily skin on your face, tend to have dry skin on their bodies. And certain areas, especially hands, feet, elbows, knees, tend to be constantly dry. Secondly, feet, especially in India, we all tend to walk and play barefoot when we are younger, and we don't pay as much attention to our feet, so it does tend to get very, very dry. So one, it's important to understand whether you have dry skin on your face and body, very dry skin or normal to dry skin. Secondly, it's also very important to look at the ingredient listing of any moisturizer you pick up. There are certain ingredients which are very, very good for the skin, but also leave the skin feeling cosmetically elegant. Light liquid paraffin is one such ingredient which penetrates well into the skin, tends to hydrate the skin extremely well, also deep repairs the skin, and yet manages to not leave the skin looking sticky or messy. It's also important to look for ingredients like cocoa butter, which especially in the winter season tend to nourish you much better. And glycerine, which is a very important ingredient in moisturizers, because glycerine is something which is called a humectant. Now, a humectant is something which actually pulls moisture from the atmosphere and locks it back into your skin. So if I use a product with glycerine, even sitting in a dry AC atmosphere, I'm unlikely to lose the moisture to the skin. So it's important to look out for these ingredients like cocoa butter, like liquid paraffin. And of course, petroleum jelly itself is a wonderful ingredient, especially for those areas which are super dry.
So specifically, what would be like some of the areas that we should concentrate on at night?
Okay, I really love this question because there's a lot of misconception with this question. Everyone focuses on their face, especially when they want to look younger, right? But I'm going to tell you something that's quite different. The first place where your age is given away is your neck and the back of your hands. So you see a lot of people who've got lovely, youthful-looking faces and extremely, wrinkled, tired, dry-looking hands.
Yeah, everyone just did that.
So when you open your moisturizer, before you even put it on your face, first put it on the back of your hands. Focus on areas like the neck, which tend to give away your age faster. As I mentioned earlier, definitely the feet, because we as Indians tend to get cracks on our feet and very hard heels. And 3 or 4 other areas is the elbows, the knees, the back of the knees. These areas tend to get very dry. And of course, for women, the back of the neck, because we do tend to wear saris. Of course, I think around the room, I'm the only one wearing it today. But we do have occasions.
But right now, off-shoulder tops are really in. So
or
we land up.
So focus on your backs as well.
Yeah, that needs a little bit of help though from going to like, Mom.
Or somebody more interested.
I was just doing a PG rating here, but okay. But also, ladies, just to pick up on what Doctor just said, we also have arranged a moisture meter here for you because Tabu also was very keen that everyone should understand what kind of skin you have and that the routine is correct to your skin. So when this whole conversation is done and, after you finish all your one-on-ones, don't forget we've got that experiential zone where you can also go and test it. Because a lot of us tend to feel like, okay, I know what my skin type is, but I truly believe that it's going to change in the next couple of days. Because it'll change with the weather, right?
Yeah. I think, one of the things to understand is the skin is not a static organ.
Yeah.
Every 30 days, we get new skin on the top layer. And the skin is constantly moving and changing. So what products may suit you in the month of May may necessarily not suit you in the month of November and December.
Right.
And therefore, understanding your skin and, Tabu mentioned sleep, which is very, very important because sleep induces something called circadian rhythms. If you don't sleep well for 5 days, the first reflection is on your skin and you may not even realize it, but you'll apply more makeup without realizing, Again, especially areas like around the eyes, you'll start layering the makeup more, that you've not slept enough. So I think that's a very valid point. It's important to be in touch with our skin on an ongoing basis to understand it. This season especially, I call it the killer season because between Ganpati and Christmas, we all tend to indulge in a lot more desserts. Eating a lot more sugar actually causes a lot more problems on the skin, even in terms of moisturization.
Yeah.
And the weather tends to go dry. So if we don't throw out what's old in our shelves and pick up newer variants for the winter, the skin could really give you a message or two when you least want it.
That is something that a lot of us tend to do. I still have this cream, I'm just going to keep it going and not chuck it away. And Doctor, I also wanted to ask you one thing. There's a lot of like home remedies that one can get into. But what I do find is that, especially with oils, is that it just gets too oily or it just gets too greasy because at the end of the day, we do live in Mumbai and it's very, very humid. So what is one supposed to do or how is one supposed to balance that out? Is there an alternative?
See, India is a country rich in traditional and home remedies, and all of us have some secrets or the other which have been passed down in our families. But what one must clearly understand is most of these home remedies were employed by our mothers and grandmothers at a time when they spent a lot of time at home. So some of these, like, if I'm cooking and I'm making something, I've taken the malai off the top of my milk and I've put it on my skin. That's great if I know in another 4 or 5 hours I'm going to be doing it again. Because many of them are non-standardized methods. They will act for short periods of time and it's not suitable for people like us who've got busy lives. You probably spend 10 minutes, if you're lucky, in the morning focusing on yourself. and 10 minutes at night. Now, then you need something that you know is scientifically proven, that can act for a longer period of more than 6 to 8 hours. And that's something that gives you a little bit of cosmetic elegance when you go into work. So, yes, oiling is a time-honored tradition, and there are many, many benefits of oiling. But no one can go into work with oil on their skin, right? I mean, you wouldn't be able to do anything. You might smell depending on the oil that you use.
Yeah, that was what I
So-
was thinking. I was like, I'm going to walk in smelling of coconut oil.
Right. So there's an appropriateness of use. And what is important to understand is just because something's a home remedy or a kitchen remedy doesn't automatically mean it's safe. A lot of allergies we see on the skin come from people putting everything from their kitchen on their skin. So I've cut this vegetable, the peels are remaining, let me put it on my skin. A lot of peels of vegetables and fruits contain enzymes which can harm the skin. So we are much better off actually going in for a scientifically formulated product which we know has ingredients which are going to work on the skin. We know it's going to suit our kind of skin. And while I'm not knocking home remedies here, it's not a sustainable solution for modern women who are engaged in many other pursuits outside their homes.
All right, doctor, thank you